Amity Innovation Incubator welcome you all in today's insightful webinar on product market strategies for startups. I'm Vijay Veer Singh representing Amity Innovation Incubator. Before I introduce you to our today's speaker, let me take a moment to give you some brief insights about Amity Innovation Incubator. Amity Innovation Incubator, under the aegis of our Chancellor Dr. Aseem Chauhan sir and our CEO Mr. Ojasvi Babbar, has been supporting startups in various sectors right from idea stage to commercialization for more than a decade. Till now, we had helped and supported more than 300 startups and invested in more than 55 startups through Amity Capital Ventures. Amity Innovation Incubator is supported by Science Technology of and innovation technology under its 2016. Our spread across more than 17 virtual in India centers abroad, along with a dedicated pool of more than 100 mentors. Sorry. There are more than 100 mentors who are associated with us and supporting our startups. Now, coming to today's webinar, as you are aware about it, India has the third largest ecosystem, expected to witness a 12 to 15% growth. India has more than close to 60,000 startups so far till date, and out of which around close to 10,000 are tech-enabled startups. This means that every day around 2 to 3 startups are born in India. So that's a good sign talking about the Indian, the rise, world is recognizing us, but the reality is 90% of startup fail 5 years. And why startup fails? Reasons for that. And what one such is not getting the right product marketing strategies for your startup. Now, without any delay, let me introduce you to our speaker for the day. We thank Mr. Madhu Singh to accept our invite. Madhu is country head and general manager at Tata by revenue businesses by establishing brands, increasing network, and mentoring large global teams from diverse backgrounds. He has created business in domestic as well as international market across various regions, including Africa and South Asia. Welcome, Madhu, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Veer. It is my pleasure to be here. And before I start speaking, I just wanted to make sure that we have the presentation on and the video is clear and the audio is clear. If you could just help me with that.
Sure. I think video presentation, everything, slides are very much visible. Audio is clear.
Lovely. Thank you. So thank you for that gracious introduction, Veer. I would like to welcome all the participants to today's session. So while startup has never been my forte, although I would have loved to do that a couple of times, and I really compliment the people who are either thinking of a startup or are already associated with certain startups in their own individual capacity or working with these startups, because the kind of environment which is there in India today, and especially with a lot of new policies coming in, the startups are going to boom in a growing economy. Yes, the last 4 to 5 months have not been very conducive, and the environment that has been given has not been very conducive, but it's been beyond our control. And that's what the startups are all about. There's a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos, a lot of complexity, and a lot of ambiguity. So hats off to people who have been able to survive many such, I would not say pandemics, but difficult times. and still being able to come out stronger. So I wish you all the very best. And as I have found from Veer, that many of the people are already working with the startups or working for the startups, and many of you are planning to have your own startups. So I hope today's session on largely product marketing for startups would bring you and give you some flavor and some frameworks, so as to work on that. Now, the the startups have a lot of things in abundance, and lots of crazy ideas, a lot of good ideas, a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. And I think the biggest thing is that never dying spirit to make your baby grow, and that dream and desire to see your baby crawling, walking, running, and then finally flying. And it's that dream and that vision which really keeps a startup founder going. However, there are multiple challenges. You always have very limited resources, uh, whether it's time, money, or talent. It's never enough. And that's the thing that we always struggle with, whether it's a startup or even a big company for that matter. And for a startup, the other challenge is that you have competition out there with deeper pockets. So before I jump into my presentation, while Veer has spoken about it, but I could see some disturbance in between, whether it was because of my internet connection or Veer's internet connection. But just to quickly tell you about Tata Motors, we are the largest automobile player in India. Our larger play is in the commercial vehicle segment, and that's the business unit that I represent for the last more than a decade now. I joined this company about 15 years ago, and I have moved into various roles, working in both the domestic business as well as the international business. For the last 10 years, I'm a part of the international business unit. I have handled my assignments as a product manager and then head of the product marketing team. So today's topic is quite close to my heart. So while I have stopped handling that particular role about 8-9 years ago, but it still remains very, very close to my heart uh, because of the entire thrill of launching a new product and the challenges that you come across. And after handling that role of product marketing, I moved to Southern Africa, based out of Johannesburg, to look after our operations in Southern Africa. Thereon, I moved to Sri Lanka, closer home. And right now, I'm handling one of the largest markets, in fact, the largest market of Tata Motors international business, which is Bangladesh. And Tata Motors, as you know, has already had many subsidiaries like JLR, Daewoo, and we have various other subsidiaries and setups in other countries. So this company with a large turnover of $45 billion is also always starved for talent, always starved for resources, always starved for cash and money. And that can tell you that if such a large company with a $45 billion turnover can struggle for these kind of resources, then it's not something new or not something surprising for startups like you to be able to face those challenges on a daily basis. And yes, in any business, cash is king. Uh, so that's something that we need to conserve in these difficult times. So most of my talk is going to be more experiential because my academic experience as a professor is not much. While I have had some guest lectures at MIT University and a couple of other universities, but most of the talk that I'm going to do is more from my practice as a professional in the industry. And as the slide reads you, a product marketer's primary goal is to deliver the right product to the right target customer at the right time and to ensure customer adoption. So if all these things do not work in cohesion, do not fall in place at the right time, at the right place, with the right product, then the sale doesn't happen. And for the last 10 years, all I'm doing is to ensure the company's volumes and market shares to be increased. Before we jump into the topic, it's important for us to understand that the entire game of marketing lies on strategy and tactics. And it's a combination of both that need to go hand in hand. So if you look at what is there in front of your slide is a quote from a book called Art of War This book was written more than 2000 years ago, probably 2500 years ago, in China, by a mysterious military general called Sun Tzu. Many of you may have heard of it already. This book, Art of War, is the most influential strategy text in the East Asian warfare. And it has not only influenced the Eastern strategy culture, but even the Western military thinking. And not just the military thinking, but business, legal, lifestyle, and much beyond that. So this is one book, and there are multiple translations of that book that you will find. The one on the right is one of the better translations that you have, because the original book was written on bamboo leaves, in Chinese. So you do have various English translations available of this book. And I would urge you to read this book. And what it says on the top as a comment that I put up, that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. So you can have a great overarching strategy, but if it is not combined with tactical moves, it will be a very, very slow route to victory. On the other hand, if you have only tactics and no strategy, that's only noise before defeat. So if you don't have a strategy in place and all your game plan is only based on piecemeal approach of tactics, it's nothing but just a noise before you're eventually going to defeat it. We're just a quick confirmation that everything, audio and video and the presentation is running okay?
Yes.
Great. Now, in today's day and time, the major challenge that we grapple with is the overload of information. And it's very easy to get lost, like this man in this big library from the early 20th century, to get overloaded with that deluge of information, that deluge of data. And research say that today's day and age, with so much of technology, with your smartphone in your hand, you have so much of data and information available in one day that is equal to almost a library. So it's very difficult to declutter the noise, cut away the noise, and only focus on what is really important for you. As far as the marketing is concerned, now marketing and sales are also often confused with each other. And then advertising is usually confused with marketing, but as most of you know who have been studying at Amity, that marketing is a whole gamut of activities. It's not just one piecemeal approach, it's a whole gamut of activities. And we are going to touch upon that. So it's not just about that, you have something priced at, let's say $100 and it's not selling. And somebody comes up with this beautiful scheme that, okay, we slash the price from $200 to $100 and communicate that effectively and people are going to run. That's not marketing. That's just a marketing gimmick, some tactic from time to time. And for that reason, I spoke of strategy right in the beginning before jumping into the topic of marketing, that anything and everything, if it's not done with a long-term point of view and not done with a strategic thinking, it may end up being nowhere. And one of the biggest mistakes that most of the companies, whether it is the startups or the big established companies, that they do is that they try and be the best in their industry. Now, it may sound very counterintuitive because as people, as individuals, we always want to be the best in our field, in our industry. So you would be wondering that why is it something wrong? Because it's highlighted in red over there. So the companies and the business doesn't work like that. The way every human being wants to be, let's say, the fastest athlete, the strongest boxer, or the best cricketer in the world, it doesn't work like that in the business place. In the business place, customers pay premium only to the product or the service which is unique. And customers buy products from those companies which are unique in their mind, which is the customer's mind. And I will come to the positioning part of it later. But it's very important to understand that when you're launching your startup, when you're thinking about your startup, don't try to be the best. So for example, if you want to be in the logistics space, don't try to be the best logistics company. You'll have to understand what the customer needs are, what the customer problems are, how you're going to solve those problems and meet those needs in a very unique manner that you're different from others. If you do not have that uniqueness, you're not different from others, you will be just one among many. And then customers will be confused, and how much ever money you may want to throw at advertising, it will still not get you the right amount of customers and the right amount of uh, reception in the marketplace. So as the slide says at the bottom, the worst error in strategy is to compete with rivals on the same dimensions. And I'll take example from my own industry, which is the automobiles. So let's say Maruti produces the most fuel efficient cars. Hypothetically, I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying hypothetically, Maruti says that I'm the most fuel efficient car in the world or in India. And there was a very good advertisement wherein there was a small Sardarji kid who was saying, Gaddi chaldi jandi hai. So which means it doesn't stop and it is the most fuel efficient. Now, if I really look at it, I have a lot of products in my portfolio which are more fuel efficient than a Maruti car. But the moment I try to compete on the same dimension, I would be making a mistake. And this is the mistake that most of the marketeers do every time, all the time. That competition has come out with certain features. Competition is trying to position that feature or that benefit in the mind of the customer. And we as either the market challenger or the competitor to that brand start competing for the same space. And you may throw millions of dollars at it, but you will not get the right amount of reception from the market and from the customer. And that's why you will see that with the new generation products, Tata Motors, when it came out with Nexon, which was the most safest car in India, it achieved 5-star rating in the Euro NCAP rating, which is the agency in the world which certifies how safe you are. So Tata Nexon became the safest car in India to be produced in India. And that's why we took the plank of safety. Because we are seeing that for customers, now cars are not just a means of getting from point A to point B. It is an extension of their own personality. People are having more and more disposable income. People want to travel from point A to point B safely. They want to arrive at their destination safely. And that's why we took the entire game out of competition and took it from fuel efficiency to safety. So the dimensions are different. It's not saying that I'm not fuel efficient. In many models, we are more fuel efficient than our competitor. But what is it that I communicate to my target audience, to my customers? I have to compete on different dimensions. Before coming to our planning of a startup, and as a lot of us, many of us come from the army background, and army teaches you one thing, that you have to sweat in peace so that you don't bleed in battle. And that's why for every startup, before it puts its business plan and before it erects the office and goes into the market, it's very important to do that grind, to do that hard work, and make sure that you have sweat in peace so that you don't bleed in battle. Because most of the startups do not have enough funding, do not get round B, round C fundings to be able to sustain the onslaught of competition. And coming from a big company, I can tell you for sure that most of the companies in the world, big companies, existing companies, dominant companies, will try to kill each and every new competitor that comes into the market, because there is not enough space for too many people. So as a product marketer, and so that you focus on my slide, I'm just going to put my video on mute, if I could do that. So these are a couple of questions that I feel as a startup we must ourselves. And if we have answered these questions correctly, I think we as a startup are ready to move into the market. But even if one question remains unanswered, then I think more work needs to be done. First one, what is our company's story? What is our pitch? Why should anyone buy from us? Why are we different? I mean, you have so many products, so many companies out there in the market. What is it that we are providing different to the customers? Which market segment should we pursue? As marketeers, we may be thinking that we have a product which everybody is going to love. And the moment I launch the product, everybody is just going to uh, jump into the market to buy my product and my product will fly off the shelf. It doesn't happen like that. That's not the reality, because there will be only few people, only certain percentage of the market which is going to buy from you. So that's why it's very important to choose that market segment very, very carefully. This highlights the point that I just made before. How do we differentiate our product from competition? Yes, customer wants your product to be good at many attributes, but what is that attribute where you want to differentiate yourself from the competition? And very importantly, how do we communicate our value offering? What is the best way to assure a successful new product launch? And uh, I have been a part of many successful product launches, right from Tata Ace, and before that Tata Safari. Then went on to do Tata Magic, Tata Winger, before I started handling markets as an operational guy. It's a huge combination of a lot of factors that come into play, and that we all need to put into place to make sure that my product launch is good, successful, and then you have to follow up for many months together to make sure that customers are still interested. How much customization do we offer? It's very tempting for a new startup to customize the product or customize the offering as per the customer's need, because they think that the business is not coming. But please understand that the moment you increase your customization, your cost is going to increase. As much as you can standardize your product, your costs are going to be limited. And customization or over customization is not bad, provided your strategy is to offer customized products. So if a Bentley or a Maybach gives you a product which is highly customized, and they're able to charge a premium for that, customization is not bad. So it all depends on your strategy. How can we reduce or maintain cost of customer acquisition? So as they rightly say, that a cost of customer acquisition is 10 times more than maintaining the existing customer. I repeat myself, and this is a very important point for all the new startups, that cost of customer acquisition is 10 times more than maintaining the same customer, maintaining the existing customer. And many startups, in their fight to earn more turnover and more bottom line, try and chase new customers without really taking care of their existing customer. And let me tell you from the experience that I've had in this field, that holding on to your customers is much more important than getting new customers into your fold. Because those existing customers, you can target a higher share of the wallet to have higher profitability, because the cost of getting new business from the existing customers is going to be lower. How can we retain our customers for longer? And that ties in with the earlier point as well, that as long as you can retain the existing customers, your profitability is going to be larger. But please understand that your customers, existing customers, will not stay with you forever with the same product. So it's important to keep launching new products from time to time, and the existing customers must be able to look at something at which they're able to upgrade. So your product offering should be such that you're able to upgrade your customers because their aspirations are rising. Which of our customers are the most important? And this is a very important point, that not all customers are important. While it may be very ideal to say in a theoretical this thing that customer is king and all customers are very important. But please understand that as a startup, it's very important for you to differentiate your customers. 80% of your customers will give you only 20% of the business, but those 20% of the customers which are going to give you 80% of the business, your key accounts, your large accounts, they are the ones which will define your existence in the market. Yes, they may be difficult to please, but they are the ones who are getting you the larger business. What are the best ways to improve sales force productivity? Is it giving higher salary and lower incentives so that they stick with you? Or is it lower salary and higher incentives so that they work very hard to get more sales? Is it just their work in getting the leads, or is it you as a company who is providing them leads through your various digital marketing and overall marketing activities that they're able to get more productivity? Are they losing any tools? Are they having lack of any tools which they require in the marketplace to increase their productivity? So those are the questions that you need to ask yourself and you need to answer. What are the payback periods on each of the marketing efforts? And it's very important, and it's important from a small startup company, because I've seen in the large companies that people do not measure bang for buck very carefully. You throw a lot of money at the market like a carpet bombing without really measuring which of your activities are giving you the higher results, which of your activities are generating more leads for you. And that's why for each of your marketing activity, it's very, very important to measure the result and overall payback period of the overall marketing spend that you're doing. How can the business develop multiple channels of customer acquisition and avoid channel conflict? So today, in today's scenario, brick and mortar structures are dying slowly, because customers are getting more smarter. Customers can go online, find out more about your product, can buy directly from your website, or can buy from Amazon, from eBay's of the world. So it's very important to make sure that you are present in the right omni channels or the multi channels, and also avoid channel conflict. And this is one of the big mistakes that even a large company like Apple did, that they had a lot of channel conflict when they were launching the new products. Last but not the least, how can we orient the entire business to be more customer oriented? So it's not just the sales team, it's not just the customer facing team which has to be customer oriented. I think it's the very last employee in your hierarchy who has to be customer oriented. And that's where your company's vision, mission, and goals align. And the values need to align themselves to make sure that each and every employee of a company knows what is the ultimate objective, who is the customer, and what does the customer satisfaction mean to the company, so that each person can align his or her activities towards that goal. And most of the large organizations like us use a balanced scorecard. And I think that's another topic for some of you who have not studied it. I would request Amity team and we to maybe take you through the balanced scorecard through one of the sessions, because that's a very great way of aligning right from the bottom of the hierarchy to the top of the hierarchy, so as to understand how do you align all these things. So I will quickly just take 1 minute on defining the 5 forces model of competition, which is done by the guru of strategy, which is Michael Porter, who's there on the slide on the right hand side. And any one of us who is serious about strategy has read his books. So before you get into any industry, you have to study the dynamics of that industry. So it's not that you suddenly wake up one fine day in the morning and you get this brilliant idea that I will make this product or this service and you get into the market. No, you have to understand and study that market. Many a times, the industries which look very attractive from outside are not so attractive. One fine example is the airlines industry. The airlines industry in the history of aviation for the last, let's say 100 years has been in losses. So while there are companies who have made profits, for example, Indigo in India, but the overall net P&L of all these companies is in losses. And that's why you will see that it's very, very important to understand the profitability or the attractiveness of that industry. And while many industries are very attractive, but not so easy to enter. So for example, sugared water, which is nothing but the Coke and Pepsi, looks very attractive because margins are very high. But the rivalry among the competing firms is very, very strong, while there are only 2 major players. And at the same time, the potential development of substitute products is also very high. And they are able to create barriers through a lot of marketing. So Coke and Pepsi spend billions of dollars in ensuring that nobody else comes into that industry and spoils the game for them because they earn such large margins on these products. So rivalry among competing firms is very important. If it's not very intense, it may be attractive. Potential entry of new competitors. So in an industry like automobile, which is a very highly capital intensive industry, this threat is very, very less. Bargaining power of consumers. If you are in the retail industry, bargaining power of consumers is very less. But if you're in a B2B business where most of your consumers are very large, for example, I buy Cummins engine from Cummins, so I'm a very large company. I can have a very high bargaining power with Cummins. So from that perspective, it's not a very attractive industry. But at the same time, there are not many players. So rivalry among competing firms is not very high. And if the bargaining power of suppliers, if for me, Cummins has a very high bargaining power, for example, hypothetically, it's not a very good industry to be in. Potential development of substitute products. What are the substitutes for Coke and Pepsi? Juices, because world over there is a campaign against using these sugared carbonated drinks. So you have a lot of substitute to that. So one needs to understand this framework, which is the 5 forces model, to understand that the industry that I'm going to get in, is it really very attractive? Can I make money in this? And a study of various players in that industry and the suppliers and customers will give you that knowledge. And when we move into the marketing part, the product marketing part, for me, the most important dimension is the STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Many of you may have read it in the Kotler. Many of you may have understood the importance of it, and many would have just brushed it aside as one of the chapters and one of the topics. Having spent a large part of my life in the corporate career, let me tell you that nothing is really more important for a new entity, for a new product, and for a product marketer than understanding the segmentation, targeting, and positioning. I will take you in very brief because most of you are at a stage in life wherein you all have studied this. So segmentation is nothing but grouping consumers by some criteria. And that criteria could be geographic, that I'm going to sell my product, let's say in Western India. For example, you have a Bagh Bakri chai, which is not known in other parts of India, but in Gujarat and in Western part of India, it's a very, very popular drink. So tea, which is they have defined to be their target market. Climate, we have certain vehicles which are specifically meant for very cold climates. The cars which can run in the hot and humid climate like India cannot run in the climate of Russia or Alaska. And you have specifically products made for that climate. Demographic, psychographic, behavioral are other ways of segmenting. And the points are listed below this, and I can send these slides to Veer without really wasting your time into going each one of these. But that segmentation across these parameters is very, very important. Once you have done that segmentation, it's very important to understand which group are you going to target. So you have thousands and millions of sub-segmentation and groups that you can do. But which is the target audience, which is that group which is going to be profitable, to which you can serve, your network allows you to serve, your product allows you to serve. So to target that particular group is very, very important. So, and in terms of targeting, you have to choose whether it is going to be mass marketing, which is you're doing a complete carpet bombing, or is it going to be differentiated marketing, wherein you're going to decide on certain mix and going to target through mix one on a particular segment, and you're targeting, let's say, 2 or 3 segments, or niche marketing, which is nothing but a very sniper kind of approach rather than a carpet bombing, where you've decided on a very small market, but that small market, in that small market, you can have a higher market share, and thus you can have a very profitable venture. And finally, nothing but the positioning, which is selecting the marketing mix in a very appropriate manner for the target mix. So positioning, it determines what consumers currently think about your product if you already have a product in the market with respect to the competing products. Then you have to decide, what do you want consumers to think about your product? And then you decide how to reposition your product. So this is about repositioning. But if your product doesn't exist and you have decided on your segment, then you need to find out that, okay, in this particular segment, either a niche or a mass market, I am going to position my product as either a safest car or a most fuel efficient car in the mind of my customer, my target audience. Once all of this is done, to improve your communication, the most important part which becomes is defining the value proposition. And ladies and gentlemen, defining the value proposition is oft a very ignored part in most of the companies. But let me tell you that it decides the success of your product, of your service among the customers, how efficiently and how greatly you've been able to define the value propositions. And what is important to understand defining the value proposition is that what customers are you going to serve, who is the end user, and what channels are you going to use, which are those needs that your product or service is going to satisfy, or which are those problems which your service or product is going to solve, and which feature or which service of your product is going to solve that. Understanding that is very important. And once you have done that, you need to decide at what price are you going to offer your product and service. Is it going to be a premium pricing? Is it going to be at parity with competition, or is it going to be a discount? And let's understand that neither premium is good nor discount is bad. All depends on your strategy. For example, Walmart has always taken a discount approach, but then their value chain makes sure that they're able to deliver that. And in the entire process, your value chain becomes very, very important. And which part of value chain will actually decide that you're able to compete with your competition, to give the products and services to meet the needs of the customer at a price which is still profitable. Just by being premium doesn't mean you will be profitable. And just by being at a discount price positioning doesn't mean you will be in losses. Walmart is today one of the most profitable companies. And it's a company which doesn't get affected with the business cycles. It's a company which doesn't get affected by pandemics. So many other companies, big companies, have gone through a turmoil, but not a Walmart, or not an Apple, which is based on a premium price positioning. In Kotler, we have very well understood the 4 Ps, and those 4 Ps can be defined into further extended to 7 Ps, but largely 4 Ps remain the Bible of the marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. For marketeer, all 4 are equally important. And when you come to promotion, because this is more about the marketing part, the advertising is just one part of the promotion. Public relations becomes very important for a startup. Sales promotions, once your product has been in the market for some times, doing various kind of schemes, whether in terms of finance or overall price, is very important. Personal selling, digital marketing, direct marketing, guerrilla marketing, these are all some of the spectrum in the overall promotion mix. After engaging all of these mixes, the kind of messaging that you have to do has to be very, very sharp and has to be very differentiated. Because if you do not tell your customers how you are different, customers will be very confused. And in today's market, with limited resources and so much noise out there, it becomes very important to have a very sharp focus on your messaging. And I have seen, even in large companies, people spend just about a couple of days in devising their communication plan and just getting done with it without really having to do a survey, understanding the customer needs. So it becomes very important to have a clear message. And in today's world, you have a term called integrated marketing strategy, which in my parlance, I really call it a 360 degree, because it rotates full 360 degree, a very holistic plan to target your customer. So your customer has to be at the center of it. Whatever you do, each activity in your value chain has to be answering one simple question: how does it benefit my customer? How does it take care of the need of my customers? And then you have various communication channels through which you can do it. I'm not going to go into the details of this because most of these are known to you. And this is a topic or a study in itself. but you have to actually integrate all of this in your communication plan. Yes, a startup is always very low on funds and low on budgets. In that case, you need to have a better understanding of your customer. If you're going to go digital or social media, you need to understand which social media does your customer use, what time of the day. Because today, advertising in newspaper is very expensive for a startup. And let me tell you that in this pandemic, I don't think even one customer has really read a physical newspaper. It is all online today. So within that online, you have a lot of banners and SEOs and Google AdWords and all. So it's a huge gamut. But for your particular target audience, what is more important? You need to decide, being in that industry and having that market knowledge of the industry, you need to decide what you're going to employ. The eventual end game of the entire marketing activity for a product marketer is to get leads. Whenever I sit with my marketing team, I give them targets, because if they're unable to give me leads which are meaningful to me, to my sales team, their entire activity, their entire exercise or spend is useless to me. So in my company, in my division, I always look at that if my sales team on their own is generating, let's say 10,000 leads in a month, what is my marketing team going to give me? At least 50% of that. And those 50%, my conversion ratio from a contact to a sale should be as good as what it is for the sales team. So these are various lead generation activities that can come in handy for startups, whether it is the trade shows, magazine and direct mail. I wouldn't do it in today's times, but a lot of online. Target database acquisition is very important, because you have many companies who have some excellent database that can really help you get to the right customer. Because in today's day and age, carpet bombing doesn't work. It has a lot of money spent. You are just hoping that you're throwing a lot of darts on the board and some dart will stick. It doesn't work like that today. Couple of lessons that can be drawn from various interactions that I've had with startups and with other companies, that as you go along in your life, your product marketing, life of your company, your product marketing will evolve as your team grows. It is very, very true, because as your, you can expect your role to change within the company. Your team is going to get enlarged. So with that, things will evolve, and the product marketing is nothing but a team effort. So it is not just the CEO or the founder. It is not just the marketing guy whose job is to do the product marketing. One mistake that we often, all of us do, is keep the marketing and the product team different. The marketing team continues to focus on marketing and product team continues to work on the product. In my opinion and from my experience, the product marketers have to work hand in hand with the product team and with the sales team. They need to understand right from the beginning of the product what all this product is all about, which needs are this product going to serve, and the sales, what are the efforts that they're putting in, what are the challenges that they're facing, so that they can all encompass it in their messaging. Product marketing is both external and internal. And why do I say that? Because this diagram on your right shows that this is not just about the product strategy and roadmap or the positioning and the message, but it is all about the outside external things of the amplification of your message, as well as your go-to-market strategy that your team is working on. And the 4 core responsibilities that you as a product marketer will have is to ensure reach. By reach, I means I get to the right audience with my right message. Attract, you have to get the audience to visit your website, to your showroom, and make sure that they get converted into leads. And from there on, conversion of leads to sales. And the final job is to spread the education and awareness about your product, the value that they're going to derive about this product. In spite of all these plans and working, I have this slide that you just saw about Mike Tyson. One fine day, he was asked by a journalist that you are the meanest for every boxer. You are their nightmare. Your boxing is available on internet. They can study you. There are various videos available. They can study you very well, how you fight, and all of them are doing it. And they have a plan in mind, but they still can't defeat you. So his response was, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And my friends, since you have taken up this large part of, large gamble, I would say, because as we said that only 10% of the startups survive, most of the 90% startups do fail. That, yeah, it's an exercise wherein you fall and get up again and again. And any plan and every plan can go awry and can fail. But it's all about your resilience, how quickly you get up and get back into the fight. This is some of the summary that I have. I will not spend too much time because we are also running out of time now. But make sure that you have your 5 mandatory sales tools for each product. And what are these sales tools that I'm talking about? So these sales tools are very, very important. What is it? Your product data sheet. What is your product? What is new in your product? Your sales training presentation. You have to spend a lot of time on your sales training presentation so that your sales teams are trained well enough. Then you have to have a very different customer facing presentation, because what you're going to train your sales people on, your messaging to the customers is going to be different. So your customer facing presentation, and this is something that you need to update from time to time. And finally, a feature advantage benefit of each product. And it's called a FAB analysis, FAB, feature, advantage, benefit. And you normally go backwards. You need to communicate your benefit of your product or your service to the customer through the advantages that the features of your product are giving you. So that's really the 5 mandatory sales tools that you have. It's very important for a startup to know and track revenues, expenses, and product profitability. So in all the startups and big companies, it's important to have, for each of the product line, to have their own P&L, so that you know which product is going to be a drag and which product is really the cash cow for the company. Track how many customers do you have for your product. Talk to at least 5 customers every month. In fact, I talk to many more because it's not just at the time of the sales that you talk to the customers, but even in a regular flow, you talk to your existing customers as to what is happening in the market, what are the changing trends. Get back to salespeople. Salespeople are really your eyes and ears in the marketplace, and whatever their needs are, you need to get back to them within 24 hours. Many a times we feel they are the fleet on the street and not very intelligent people. But let me tell you that they're not just the people who are getting you the sales. They're also the people who are going to tell you what your new products are going to be, because they are the messenger between you and the customers. They're the most important link. Always know who your top 3 competitors are, and the market intelligence is very, very important. Continue to motivate, reward, retain, and set an example of the top 3 sales representatives of a product. I always do it in every market that I go, that I continue to motivate, reward, retain my top sales executives and make an example out of that, if they do well, this is the kind of rewards and promotions that they can get. Stay on top of industry trends and press, self-explanatory. Work with the product managers to ensure that you have very well-defined product roadmaps. So this is really the end of the presentation on the product marketing. If you allow me about 5-7 more minutes, I could just take you some important things that I felt, while they are not linked to the topic, but may help the startups and the people who are going to get into startups.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the tenets that I have followed in my life, and I have learned it from a couple of my seniors and bosses, that the route to satisfaction is really the route of dissatisfaction. It's a very confusing statement. It's from a British poet of 19th century, Alfred Tennyson. What it means is that we must be constantly dissatisfied with the current state of affairs. And once we reach the desired satisfaction, then we again need to bring ourselves to that level of dissatisfaction, that we try and find what would be the next level of satisfaction. it's nothing but improving on excellence from day on, day by day, and getting to a level which is far better than the competition. Testing the limits, and this is very important for the founders of the startups and people who are going to lead the startups, that you have to have a certain framework which is going to give you success. And this is one of the frameworks that I have found very useful. The credit of this goes to one of our earlier managing directors. And what it talks about in a clockwise manner is that you have to understand the business dynamics of every industry. For example, my commercial vehicle industry is very cyclical. Every 7 to 8 years, we go through troughs and crests. We have to understand the nature of the industry. The electronics industry is very, very prone to quick changes. You can have instant new products, and the cost of electronics goes down by 24-25% every year. So you need to have that cost of erosion in your costing. Otherwise, you will be out of the market. Competitiveness. You have to understand the competitive position of your company in the industry, and you must know how your product is going to be better than the competitor. If that uniqueness that I talked about is not there, then it's going to be very difficult to sustain. Consumer insights. As I was talking about, that 20% of your customers will really buy 80% of your products. And it's important for you to understand what is their purchase behavior, what is their usage behavior. For example, when we launched the Tata Ace, which is called a Chota Hathi in India, a 0.75 ton mini truck, we realized that in many parts of UP and Bihar, people were actually using it to carry people. So they would put benches at the back and they would put people. So we had made a goods carrier, but they were using it as a passenger carrier. So that was a beautiful insight for us, that we could use that product as a platform to actually make a passenger carrier out of it. And that's how the Tata Magic came into the picture. And I was the national marketing head for Tata Magic in 2006 when it was launched in India. And with that insight of the customers, we could actually tap a very large market, which was safer and was meeting all the safety norms. Fix the limit. So target setting in a business becomes very, very complex. So most of the time, how businesses set the target is that they take previous historical data and put 10% or 20% growth, some percentage growth over that. But actually fixing the limit has to be part data. It has to be part wisdom, basis your experience, and part gut. So how we do it normally in our company is that any new product that we are launching in a new segment, we don't say that, okay, this segment is this much and we are going to target, let's say, these many numbers. That's not how we look at it. How we look at it is, what is the total opportunity which is available in the market? And with my product, with the strength of my channel, with the strength of my marketing team, what percentage of the market, that opportunity, can I target in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year? And in a product life cycle of, let's say, 4 to 5 years, then you try to reach at the peak before it starts declining. And that's how we set our targets. Outside in approach, very important. I think if there is one thing which is the most important out of this, is outside in approach. So one way of taking a target is that, okay, I am here today and these are the things that I'm going to do, because these are all the things that I can do to reach my target. But how we look at it is outside in approach. We first set the target. Instead of saying that, okay, I did 100,000 units last year, I will do 110,000. No, we basis our fixing the limit, we decide our target, and then we work backwards, which is an outside in approach, to find out what we can do to reach that level. What are the resources that will be required? What more team members will I need? And from which all departments will I need to pull in my team members to achieve my target? Step number 7, assessing the risks. In whatever plan you do, and as I gave you the Mike Tyson's example, in whatever plan you do, you're going to face challenges, you're going to face risks. And as a leader, it's your job to assess those risks and mitigate those risks in time so that they don't explode in your face. Last but not the least, the disciplined execution. I think there's no shortcut to victory apart from hard work. And that's what we all need to do, a very, very disciplined execution of our plans. Now, that was the part of testing the limits, how you can set audacious targets. This is the traits, how we are going to do it. Have an open mind. Many a times, people who are in their 40s and 50s, because of their experience, I'm not really blaming anybody, but because of their experience, they have a very set way of thinking. They think that this is the only way to success. Apart from this, there's no way to success. But in today's times and day, when things are changing so very fast, people need to have a very open mind. Whenever you face a problem, please listen to that problem carefully and understand, and take help from people who are 20 years younger to you, because they have a very fresh way of thinking. Assume ownership. And this is not so much for the founders, but for the employees in a startup, that you need to make them feel that they're part owner of the business. If they feel that they're part owner of the business, that's when they're going to work as per your needs. Be detached. Now, this can be very counter-intuitive or contradictory, actually, compared to the assume ownership. But why I say be detached? Because failures are bound to happen in your journey to success, and failures will happen at many milestones. So you need to be detached in a way, emotionally detached in a way that it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't derail you. Every time you fall, you need to get up. But if you are too much emotionally attached with a certain idea, that this is the greatest idea in this world that will work and it will make my startup reach a unicorn or a billion-dollar company, please understand that that many ideas, many brilliant ideas, even after brilliant executions, will fail. And that's when this trait of being detached will help you come back and rebound faster. Collaborate and encourage participation. In today's time and day, you have to collaborate. You cannot do anything on your own. You have to collaborate within your company. You have to collaborate with your competition. In today's times, in the automobile industry, many competitors are collaborating with each other because product development life cycle is very long. The amount of investment which is required in making one car is more than $2-3 billion. No company has those kind of resources. So many companies are actually pulling in that money to come out with product platforms. So the chassis, the underbody is going to be same, just the head will change. And those are the innovations which are happening. Build trust. For any startup. It is very, very easy to get derailed because the trust has not been developed right from the beginning among the team members. And why I say this is that, when resources are scarce, very often a lot of blaming happens, a lot of finger pointing happens, a lot of accusation happens, which can derail any new idea, any new product, any new company. So building trust within the company is very important. And leverage strengths. What I mean by leveraging strengths is that many people in your team will have a lot of weaknesses. It depends on your ability not to look at that weakness and leverage that strength. Each individual has its own unique strengths. Each individual has her own weaknesses. You need to dilute the weakness part and just focus on the strengths. And one of the fine examples, which many of you would have heard, is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and Mr. Satish Dhawan. So Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was a project director when one of the satellites, which was supposed to be put into the orbit, actually fell into Bay of Bengal. And Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was very, very disturbed, very hurt with this. And there was media waiting outside. And that's when his boss, Mr. Satish Dhawan, said, okay, no problem. He went to the press, handled all the questions, and took the entire blame of failure upon himself. Few months later, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, as a project director, and his team, they put the satellite into the space, into the orbit. And that's when he looked at Mr. Satish Dhawan himself. And he said, Mr. Satish Dhawan said, now it's your time to handle the press. So it's a beautiful example of how true leaders really take all the blame of failures and give the credit of their success to the team members. Some of the good books that you could read on the topic. is Zero to One. Is a very good book by Peter Thiel. The Lean Startup, written by Eric Rice. Eric Rice and Jack Trout have written a lot of book on positioning and branding as well. So this is a good read. Good to Great by Jim Collins is not about startups, but I think it's a very good book for those startups which are already in their, in their journey, in their cycle, because he has written a book called Built to Last, which is about the companies which have lasted. All the many companies from that book have already failed because of these change in circumstances and change in industry. But Good to Great could be a good book for you all to read. So Veer, that would be all from me. Thank you very much. And thank you for being available and sharing your time and be with us. This final slide, which shows birds flying in the V formation, it's another example of a great teamwork that we see in nature every day. So you would know that by flying in this V formation in a very aerodynamic shape, these birds can reduce the drag of coefficient or the coefficient of the drag, and can fly faster, can actually fly longer. Scientists estimate that they can fly 70% farther by doing in this V formation. And many a times, some naughty bird or geese actually falls off the formation and realizes that it cannot fly on its own. So then it comes back to the formation very quickly, because when it falls out of the formation, it has to spend a lot of energy. And the beauty of this is that this bird in the front has to bear all the onslaught of friction of the air. And that's why they keep on rotating leadership. So there's not one leader at one point in time. And in many startups, you will see that depending on the expertise, depending on the need of the hour, a lot of other birds will come into the front and take the leadership position. And by rotating the leadership position, they reduce the burden on one particular leader. Thank you very much. You have been a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. I think take some of the questions which audience might be having. Audience, Sahil, you there? If you can coordinate on this.
Yes, sir. So I would request everybody, either you could drop in your question in the chat, or you could raise your hand and we would unmute you.
So even if people are a bit hesitant or being a bit shy of asking questions at the moment, I can always take questions on emails as well. You can. Sorry, Veer, your network is quite poor. I cannot hear you at all. Your voice is breaking.
So we have a question in the chat. Can you expand on deploying channel partnering? This is from Divyam Agarwal.
Can you repeat the question for me?
It says, can you expand on developing channel partnering?
Channel partnering, okay. So in the retail business, gentlemen, as I talked about channels, the channel partnering becomes very, very important. And in fact, in my job that I do with Tata Motors, channel partnering is one of the most important jobs that I have, because in various countries and markets that you go in, the company cannot take all the risks. Channel partner is like a startup. It's an entrepreneur which comes out on its own, puts in money, buys products from you, retails it to the end customer. There are a lot of advantages that there are to be had from the channel partners. So the biggest advantage is that they are putting in their money in their own market to buy products from you and sell it to the end consumer. They are the ones who are stocking. But as the company who is having the channel, it's your responsibility to make sure that your channel is profitable. Because if your channel is not profitable, they will not have sufficient money to buy more products, and the stocking of your products or services is much more important. So these are the people, the channel, which provides, this is really the eyes and the ears of the company on the ground with the customers. Because they are closer to the customer, they understand the customers very, very nicely and very properly, because these customers are interacting with them on a daily basis. So choosing the right partner, choosing the right channel partner is very, very important in each territory. territory that you define. They need to have the right scale of funding, because if your partner becomes sick, it is not so easy to close your partner and appoint new partner. It takes months and sometimes years put together. And if a partner closes, if a channel closes in your territory, in that territory, customer thinks that this brand is not reliable because this brand had a showroom or a channel at one point in time and today it does not. Expanding it to the online channel, now omni-channel is becoming very important. In one particular market, for example, in India today, we are also selling our cars through online channel. Now there can be a conflict between these two channels. My dealership will say that I am spending so much money and so much of hard work on the ground to cultivate customers, but customers are going online and buying from you directly, wherein I'm losing my money and revenue. So you have to have your policies in the place so that there is no conflict. So what I will do that, okay, I will still do my online selling, but the moment my customer buys, let's say from Indore in Madhya Pradesh, my dealer, my channel in Indore will also get some commission out of that, so that he or she does not drop all the efforts and continues to invest in building the brand in that territory and building the customer awareness and servicing the customers properly. I hope I have been able to answer your question, Divyam. If there's anything in specific, you can ask me.
Hello. We have another question from Parth Sagar. How do you evaluate, how do you do valuation of a company startup? How to know the correct projections? I think not related to the session.
Yeah, so since this is not related to the session, also not related to my expertise, I would refrain from answering this. Maybe Veer, who has been handling this, can possibly take this question later and answer the participant.
Parth will take this question offline, as this does not, is not part of the session. We'll discuss this offline. Do we have any other questions? So I believe we could take more questions offline if we do not have any other questions right now. So guys,
Sure.
if, you could write to us and we'll help you solve your queries. Vijay sir, over to you.
Thank you, Madhu. I, on behalf of Amity Innovation Incubator family, our President, Honorable Dr. Aseem Chauhan sir, our CEO, Mr. Ojasvi Babbar, and the entire team across all the regional centers and abroad. So, for such a valuable informative session on product marketing strategy for startups, I am sure that all the startups, students, faculty members who were part of this session would have got so much of insight about this product marketing strategies and the examples how you correlated with your experience with Tata Motors. We thank you for being part of this session, accepting our invite and giving so much of insights to us. And we look forward for more association with you down the line.